everybody, to another episode of Two Brothers, Same Mother, and another just disappointing week for the Verge. I mean, it was, at least they were winning, but it was disappointing. Now you know what it is, man, and I just want to bring this up before we kind of dive in. You've been talking now, AJ, for weeks about how it's not so much the players as it is the coaching.
Right.
And that, there was player holes in there too, of course, but the coaches are not helping this team out. And I believe Monday night with this game against the Seahawks, it's almost blatantly obvious that it's coaching, man.
Yeah, it's coaching. And to be honest with you, another thing, but it starts with Howie as well. You called it out, man. Like, I was really, really trying to give. I'm not saying Rieger's bad. He's okay. He's okay. He's a number two. You know what I mean? A solid number two. And you have been ranting and raving about how we dropped the ball with Justin Jefferson, and I was like, hold on, man. Yeah, you were dead on with that. And they put out this report earlier about how, and this goes into coaching, or it could be Howie too. I may lead to the latter real quick on this. It's with Howie. I think you were worried that they were going to take snaps away from Fulgham. I thought they were going to take snaps away from Greg Ward, because that's what initially came out. They were talking about moving. But, it's obvious that I actually had to go back a couple games. Like, Fulgham is literally getting snaps taken away. He was only in on 53% of the snaps last night. The week before, he was only in 51. Like, they're going to Alshon, and and I think Doug. I would like to think that it's Doug is being almost made to. It's just like, we paying him 17 plus. You know what I mean? Mill, you can't have him on the sidelines.
Top to bottom, man. Look, I think honestly, you need to rebuild this whole organization.
So I have a question for you, and I wanted to ask you this real quick.
Sure.
It's obvious, right, that this needs to be blown up, okay? But do you think it needs, like, hand grenade, or do you think it needs, like, 10 sticks of dynamite mixed with some C4 blown up?
Nah, this needs, to me, you know what this reminds me of? I'm going to draw an interesting parallel. Reminds me of the 85 Bears. The 85 Bears were dominant. They won the Super Bowl. They had an assistant coach that really was the dominant force behind the defense, much like how we had an assistant coach that was the dominant force behind the offense. Frank Wright and Buddy Ryan. And what happened during that offseason? Now, I swear, I don't get a phone call, like, for days. And then I start recording this, and then people are like, hey, now's the time for the robocalls. But what happened during the offseason of 85 and into 86? Mike Ditka all of a sudden started doing commercials after he told his players not to do that and focus on the game.
Yeah.
Much like how Doug Peterson all of a sudden did this book tour and started taking credit for stuff. You see all these people starting to try to make appearances and make money grabs. Now, granted, the Bears had a little bit more personalities than the Eagles did, but you saw the same thing with the Eagles too. And the young quarterback started having injuries because the offensive line got old really quick. Jim McMahon and Carson Wentz. And when Jim McMahon and Carson Wentz both came back, you noticed that the team that was around them had deteriorated, or just they were missing pieces. It's very, very similar. There were some playoff appearances, yes, which helped keep that team around longer than it should have in Chicago. But eventually they had to blow it up. And in Chicago's case, they've never really recovered. I think Philly can learn from that.
And one other thing that Bears team did the very next year too, or 2 years later, that you can resemble the Eagles. They drafted a young quarterback out of Boston College University named Doug Flutie,
Yeah, who
kind of
was
like with
supposed to be
Jalen
like a
Hurts.
gadget-like player, much like
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
It's very, very similar. And for, I do have a couple friends who are Bears fans. They probably would watch this and just be like, yo, just take Nick Foles back, because they blame Nick for their issues. And their issues are – honestly, the Bears' issues are very similar to the Eagles, with the exception of the Bears do have a lot more young talent on defense, whereas we have a lot more young talent on offense that is trying.
Yes. Yeah.
But with that being said, what were some of the bright spots against the Seahawks that you saw?
Alex Singleton again, against the run, man. It's obvious he's somewhat of an undersized linebacker. He's a decent outside linebacker, and I was talking to AJ last night watching the game, and I was just like, yo, he would be perfect as what we talked about before, lined up against or having that middle linebacker, i.e. a Patrick Queen or somebody next to him. Like, he would really shine. I like his hustle, man. And overall, the defensive line, man, like the defense, every week the defensive, other than that one Giants game and the second half of the Browns game, which they were just got tired. But
And
other
even
than
if
that
you look at
second
the second
Giants
half
game,
of the Browns game, I mean, in the fourth quarter, Hunt still had negative yardage, and they held Chubb to only about 30 yards, and then, like you said, it just wore down.
yeah, it just wore down. Offense wasn't doing nothing; they just got tired. But yeah, man, like to me, those were the bright spots.
I will say this too. And for people who think that Carson Wentz is done and this is all Carson Wentz, I did see that some potential in Carson Wentz, in the sense of, yo, it's still there. It's just that everything around him in this offense is not suited for him.
No, it's not, and he doesn't have. I know Brian Greasy was on him, and listen, Carson. There are times where he misses throws, and I'm not talking about the throws like the overthrow or whatever. I'm talking about there was times where cats were open, and to me, and at first I was like, oh, I don't know what he's doing, and nobody could figure it out. And then like I legitimately just kept really looking at it, and I texted you last night, and I said, I think the issue why Carson, it's not that he can't read the defense anymore. I mean, in 2016, with his rookie year, everybody raved over like how well he checked down, how well he saw a defense, and could read one. I think he's going through his progression too quick, and also like, all right, so you get like 3 or 4 reads, right? Most, especially type of offense the Eagles run, and I think once that first and second read isn't there, like it is in practice, you get what I'm saying? It isn't there, then all of a sudden he starts rushing through his progression and he starts missing things because he's so worried about that line giving up that pressure. Like they say, hey, the average quarterback about 3 seconds. Carson's I think they did like an analysis. Like Carson literally has like 2.4 seconds on his average pass before he's getting hit. Like that's crazy.
And you're not doing anything, or you're doing very little to help him out as far as screens, draws, counters. I mean, it took you 2 games.
And we're not even getting separation. Like the poor guy is throwing like prime example. Brian Greasy was just like, oh, that pass was 5 yards short, and Goddard had to come back to it. If you notice the one where Rieger did the same thing and they had to cut, even though they didn't get the PI on that one, but there was another one that he did, and they got 2 PIs out of those 3. And I think Carson's like, yo, I don't have the trust that you guys can beat these guys downfield. So I think he's like throwing those short, like he's just trying to get like that's his way of trying to make the play work.
This does not feel like to me that he's going to say this is all because of the coronavirus. Would you agree?
Oh, Jeffrey Lurie. Did you know Cleveland was the first game away game that he's missed? It is his tenure since 1994.
Four.
1994, since he bought the team, was his first. They said that he's literally have stormed out of practices because the team has looked so bad during practice.
Yeah, I think that you know, I'd be surprised if Doug keeps his job, honestly, at this point. And not to say that Doug's not going to be a interesting person to look at to join a staff or something like that, but this is now 2 years in a row where, ever since the Super Bowl run, where there had to be major changes to Doug's staff that he didn't really want to do, and Jeffrey Lurie's had stepped in, and it seems like he's trying to give Doug some leeway, and it just progressively gets worse and worse and worse.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Is it Howie? Because remember, Howie was the one that hired Schwartz.
Well,
Right?
I think it's a little column A, a little column B. I mean, you can be a bad play caller, a bad head coach, and have bad talent. All three could make that recipe.
There's more talent on this team than people realize, and that's just my opinion. I think there is. I think Doug is a horrible play caller. And here's the thing. I like Jeff Stoutman, right? The offensive line coach of the Eagles. And 2 years ago, right? Or no, actually not even 2 years ago. Right before last season, they did this like nude photo shoot like on Sports Illustrated, best offensive
Oh, yeah,
line
for the
in the
body
league.
issue, yeah.
So it's funny, but if you look back on it, like there's two things that have been as inconsistent as this team has been. There's two things that have been consistent, or three things: us constantly starting 4-6, 4-7, bad play calling every year, and then we got to rally the last month of the season. And Carson Wentz is always in the top 5. The last 3, he's number 1 now, and he's going to probably break historical records as hits and quarterback sack. And that's crazy because I watched that David Carr Texas team 20 years ago, or 25 years ago, or 15
And you
years
got
ago.
to stop saying it's because he's holding the ball. He's holding the ball.
Bro, it's not. It's he's holding the ball. Here's the thing, and we saw this. Was it the first Giants game? No. Was it the first Giants game? The second Giants game. Prior to the bye week, Carson has to throw the ball away. He's holding the ball too long. Carson has to throw the ball away. He's holding the ball too long. He threw the ball away in that Giants game. Carson has to do more. He has to take chances.
right.
They even said on Monday Night Football that Carson Wentz is the most scrutinized quarterback in the NFL, period. And it's crazy.
You know, and I mentioned this, I want to say over a month ago, Carson Wentz has become public enemy number 1 in the NFL for some odd reason. If you look at national media and national fans, everybody has been ripping this guy apart. And I mean, it's not even just bad play or whatever. I mean, it's just, it was one thing if it was Cowboys fans or Giants fans or no. I mean, you got like Arizona Cardinal fans talking about how Carson Wentz is the most overrated quarterback of all time. Like, what? Why? Why would you even comment on that? Worry about Kyler Murray. You know what I mean?
I'm always preaching, and especially this year, I'm always like, it seems like they're just calling plays just to call plays, right?
Doug Peterson has to go. And I say that I don't suggest that anyone should get fired, but I don't think, unfortunately, there are times and situations where either people have run their course or they're so stubborn and stuck in their ways they need to be fired in order to grow.
Unless I was talking to a buddy of mine this morning about it, and the only way I see Doug, and I'm still on the fence with this, and I'll explain why. The only reason I see Doug keeping his job is if he's willing to just be head coach and have an offensive coordinator that's actually going to call plays. The reason why I'm on the fence with it is because, okay, say he does that, right? So, but is he going to have somebody that's going to be like almost like a yes man, like almost call the plays as he would call them? You understand what I'm saying?
That's my worry. If you're going to do that, you need to bring in an offensive coordinator who has some experience and who has some clout. I'm not saying you bring in Norv Turner, but a guy who has been around the league that long, not to that extent. Norv Turner's
Right.
been in the league since like the NFL was the AFL. But
Right,
like somebody who has a bunch of experience. And
yeah, I mean, it's not that hard. Like, me and you talk about it all the time, right? I'm not saying I can coach at the NFL level. You're not saying you can coach at that level. But the stuff that we see, like, it's basics. I'll give an example. So people want to be like, well, if you're so good, why don't you coach? Go back and watch the Eagles game, people. You'll see the defensive ends, the last 3 games, they continuously attack the outside shoulder of our tackles. And what does he do? Shotgun drop back, or the draw play. And you have to realize when you're in shotgun, you're already 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage and that running back is next to you. So when they're coming that rush, yeah, they're attacking that, they're beating them, and that's how they're stopping them in the backfield. That's when you go under center and you run a counter up underneath of that. You run it between the guard and tackle. You run it in a C gap. You get what I'm saying? And that's what you and that will slow down them ends from attacking, and it helps out the offensive line. It's just little simple things like that he does not do or adjust to. It's crazy.
And when he did have some success against Cleveland. Granted, Miles Sanders fumbled on that first drive, but you could see that you have success doing that.
And guess what happens? Guess what happens real quick? Sorry. Not only are you – because people are like, oh, you can't move the pocket every play. No, you can't. But guess what that has? It adds another element because then, like we saw Cleveland do with Baker Mayfield, what happens is then you start running them up underneath. You've moved the pocket a couple times. Now comes that hard play fake. Bang! Now Carson's rolling. Now Carson's booting. Seeing that whole field. You know what I mean? You got the safeties coming up. Now you got Rager, Fogel, well, not Alshon, but other people, you know what I mean, getting behind the defense, and Wentz can take that big shot like he likes. It opens up. You got that linebacker or that safety peeking in the backfield because you did that hard play fake, and Carson rolling out. Now he's peeking in the backfield. Now Goddard got behind him on the second level. Now, now he's between the linebacker and the safety. You get what I'm saying? It's just little things like that, and that's what's frustrating because he's not doing anything to set it up. And it's just not me talking. Like, I watched, it's called The Other post-game show with Trey Thomas, and he legitimately was saying the same things.
There was an article on ESPN, and the title's misleading. The title basically talks about how Carson's contract makes it impossible for the Eagles to get rid of him.
I saw that. Yeah.
However, if you read the article tells a vastly different story, and it's about how other NFL execs are pointing out that it's the coaching. Like, and they basically were pointing out, and this is other NFL execs and other NFL coaches, that one said if you take him and put him on the Rams with Sean McVay, the Rams would be already on the verge of having a dynasty.
Okay, so I saw an interview with oh God, not Tom Heckert. Oh my goodness, your boy. Joe Banner, right?
Not my boy, but yeah, okay.
I just said that. That's what.
Great Twitter follow, by the way, Joe Banner.
Yeah, great interview. Because he was talking about, because they were saying if the Eagles were struggling, what would you do? And he was just like, he was saying it was on coaching. He was just like, they were like, they talked about when like a couple times when the Eagles offense was struggle and what would Andy do? And they said Andy wouldn't come out. One year he came out, I think it was like 2006, with the Jeff Garcia thing. He came out and openly said he was letting Marty Morningweg, coach, call the plays for Jeff, not because Donovan wasn't out there, just because they had a groove. But what he said was he said, but he always did that. And they were like, what do you mean? And he was just like, sometimes he would have his offensive coordinator call a quarter. And if the offense got into a rhythm, he would allow him to continue. He just didn't say it.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying? So, sometimes he'd be like, all right, this quarter you do this. So he could do his head coach thing. Talk, talk to like some of the other coaches and see what was going on with certain position groups if they weren't doing this or you know what I mean. So he could actually be a head coach, talk to Jim
Right.
Johnson about the defensive play, what they're going. So this way he didn't have to worry about play calling, but they didn't show that because you would always see him, which looked like a Chinese food menu. Holding up, but a lot of times he was just sitting there. Not a lot of times, but they said sometimes he would do that. They said he would do it for a half, a quarter, sometimes just a series or two.
Andy's a different personality. I mean, Andy was an
Right.
offensive lineman. He went to BYU, and his faith has something to do with that too. He basically is used to working hard and not really getting credit and being okay with it. You know,
Right.
even when he did, you know, although it was a little dry, he was like, hey, you know, the famous line, "Hey guys, just enjoy the win." Andy never was a glory hog.
Mm-mm.
Whereas Doug does give off the personality of, I've always been a, you know, camp arm. I've always been told I wasn't good enough. I need to prove myself. You know, you never saw Andy. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if there's a book out written by Andy Reid about, you know, like that, like how Doug did after his second year of coaching, even though he won the Super Bowl. Like you don't see that with Andy. You don't see. I don't remember Andy Reid. And there might be one now, but I don't remember Andy Reid ever doing commercials. I don't remember. Like Andy Reid was a football guy. He didn't really care much about glory. It wasn't about who got credit. And Andy likes to teach, which is why he has a tree.
Right.
I don't know, and that's really special. You know, I don't know if Doug likes to teach. I don't think it doesn't come across if he does.
Now Doug wants to look at me.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. You know what it reminds me of? I'm pretty sure you saw it, even though you were really little when it came out. Do you remember the movie Can't Buy Me Love with Patrick Dempsey?
Wow.
Right.
I've seen it, but I vaguely remember
Okay,
it.
so remember he was like a super dork, right? And this
Yeah.
is how I'm gonna do it. He was a super nerd, super dork. Nobody messed with him. That's Doug when he came here in 99 as a quarterback. Like the city, I remember the city trashed him. Like he was so bad. Like I remember the fans, the 700 level fans would like heckle his wife and stuff,
Yeah.
like in the stands, right? So then he goes out, and then like in the movie, he becomes cool, right? Same thing here, Doug. Doug 2016, got his new quarterback. Offense looked really good. Second year, toasted the town. Everybody dumping champagne on him. And then all of a sudden, what he really became, he started feeling himself, just like Patrick Dempsey in the movie. He started feeling himself, and then he got exposed, and then he became a nerd again. And the
So
same people that were cheering for him.
like Balboa in Rocky 3.
Yeah, man. Like, yeah, he had to get back. You know what I mean? Like, he needs his Apollo or something because which his Apollo is out in Indianapolis.
Andy Reid ain't never gonna look like Apollo Creed.
Well, I would say Andy was more like his Mickey. Mick. He needs to
Yeah, that
call
was
and
a
be
bum.
like, I ain't hear no bell, Doug. You know what I mean? Something I don't know, but
So does that make Deuce Apollo?
yeah, Dude's gonna have to be Apollo or something, or the ball-headed trainer. Throw the towel. Throw in the damn towel.
Oh my god. And that's if you want to bring up any more points. I was going to go into our 5-pack of questions.
Let's go to the 5-pack, Charlie. Let's go.
So the first question I have for you: name an Eagle you wish would have stayed here longer. And I restricted it to an Eagle that was here 3 years or less, because I don't want you to say, well, Brian Dawkins. I mean, he obviously we all do, but he was here for a while.
I know you always say give me one, and I always look, can I have two? So I want to give you two. Of course, T.O. was one. And one more recent, I wish he was an Eagle longer, was Chris Long.
Actually, those were my two, T.O. and Chris Long.
Hey.
Chris Long, I mean, just a great guy all the way around. And, you know, I totally agree. Chris loved to play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He would have came back, but they didn't have a role for him. And he was just like, man, I don't care about the money. I just want to play, you know? So, yeah, it's funny. This is exactly the two I was thinking of. So your favorite sport outside of the four major ones?
Woo! Wrestling, baby.
Wait.
That's considered a sport.
No. I always want to make sure.
Professional wrestling.
We're not, no, that is sports entertainment.
But it's still sports.
No, if that's
Athlete.
entertainment, that's not a sport.
Well, it depends. WWE. So, but if you ask AEW, they're that's considered wrestling sport. Where WWE is sports
according to law
entertainment.
and the taxes they pay, it's entertainment. Okay, so try again, unless if you're talking about the ones where they come out looking like the Steiner brothers in the One Piece. If you're talking about that wrestling, then okay.
Lingerie football, I guess.
You're just gonna keep it. That doesn't count either.
Nah.
You know what? I gotta be honest with you. And I never really had an appreciation for it until I tried to do it. And I want to learn more about it. Yo, man, it takes a lot to play tennis.
Yeah. And another sport other than the four major let me rephrase that. The four major in this country is actually what we call soccer.
Yeah,
man. Yeah. Them dude, man, you gotta be conditioned, bro.
Right.
Rugby's another one, man. Very physical.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The pro wrestling and lingerie football. Good gracious.
Hey,
So, who, in your opinion, is the most underrated sports figure of all time?
Curtis Martin.
Nice. Wow. I'm a big Curtis Martin fan. So.
Yeah. See, Martin, listen, man. He wasn't great at one thing. He was just really good at everything. So.
You know who I think is going to be there because even though people talk so highly of him as a person, but not as much as an athlete, is Larry Fitzgerald. I think Larry Fitzgerald, he's going to be lost between Jerry Rice and that era and the Deshaun Watson type. DeAndre
The appreciation for him is, he's.
Now, on the flip side, most overrated sports person.
Brett Favre.
No, really? That's my answer. Brett Favre. I've always thought Brett Favre lost his team more than. Wow, I didn't know you felt that way about Brett.
Yeah.
Listen.
I like Brett. I like that balls to the wall mentality. But you can't put him up there with the Montanas and the Bradys and the Mannings or the Aikmans or or the Elway. You can't. Marinos, Bradshaws. Yeah, no.
Wow, I'm surprised because I've gotten to drag out arguments about Brett Favre and how I just felt like the guy was just over. It was his personality that really got him over the top, not so much his gameplay.
His early personality. Later in his career, everybody got tired of his bullshit because he went from good old country boy to total divas.
What is your favorite, if you have one, holiday movie? When I say holiday, it doesn't have to be Christmas. It can be any holiday.
But I mean, listen, I have two. I have a 1A, 1B. Mainly, you know what? I'll just give the main one. My main one. It's not only my favorite holiday movie. It's one of my favorite movies. It's Christmas Vacation. Dude, I relate to Clark Griswold so much. Like the kids laugh when they watch it. They're like, "That's you, Dad." Like when he's with the lights and he's like, "I don't know what's going on." And the wife's like, "Did you check the plugs?" And he was just like, "You think I didn't check the plugs?" And she hits the switch and all the lights. You know what I mean? Like, it's just.
I'm just glad you didn't say Die Hard.
No. I mean, it is a Christmas movie, but no, man, Clark Griswold, man, that's.
You know what? Oddly enough, for me, and it's not a Christmas movie. I don't know why. It's not the best holiday movie, but it's always been one of my favorites. Was Groundhog Day.
Groundhog Day is a fun movie.
I always really liked Groundhog Day for some odd reason. I just did.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go into the picks, and obviously the schedule is all screwy because we got a Wednesday game for this week as far as.
And then a Tuesday game next week.
Right. It's so. Let's start with Sunday 1:00. Saints at Falcons.
I want to go New Orleans 27-21.
I think Atlanta's actually going to win. Now, you could call it my upset special, but I think it's just Taysom Hill's luck's going to run out, man. So I think that's what it is, and I think Atlanta wins 24-20. Browns at Titans.
Low scoring, old school Houston Oilers, Cleveland Browns style game. 21-24 Tennessee.
I have Tennessee winning. I have it 17-14, and there will be over 300 yards rushing in this game. Not by one player. I'm just saying overall.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if you see 400 yards rushing if you include Hunt, Chubb, Henry, Mayfield. Like, it's just going to be a lot of running.
Yeah.
Lions at Bears. Oh, my.
Bears 23-25.
23-25. Okay.
Safety. I don't know.
I got the Bears winning 21-17. Lions just fired Matt Patricia. Wouldn't mind him having him as a defensive coordinator, even though his defenses haven't been that great. I think it's just he was being a head coach.
No, let's get away from the Bill Belichick become Detroit Lions, now our defensive coordinators. Let's not go that path anymore.
What was supposed to be an exciting matchup, now with Joe Burrow out, not so much. Bengals at Dolphins.
Oh, Dolphins 24-10.
Oh, you're not excited to see Finley against Fitzpatrick?
No. Yo, I didn't get a chance to ask him last night, but I told Mayfair, I'm like, not to take the over on that damn Miami game.
And I was like, dude, how?
Like, why? And he was like, Fitzmagic. And I really wanted to, and I didn't want to get into it
not
with him,
this
but I
late
was
in
like,
the year.
No, right. Like, if it's week 3, week 4, yeah, I got you. But
all I know, Finley and Fitzpatrick being the two quarterbacks sounds like the quarterback roster for the Irish back in the 70s.
The over was 45, and you take the over? Like, what was he thinking? They fucking scored 23 between the two teams. Jesus Christ.
As it gets colder, the unders start to hit more.
Yes.
But yeah, I got the Dolphins still in this game. I got the Dolphins winning 20-17. Now we got the Jaguars at the Vikings, which you would have thought, a few years back would have been a run-heavy battle between Fournette and Dalvin Cook. We know Fournette's not there anymore. Mm-hmm. Meanwhile, Dalvin Cook is just doing his thing.
Yeah. I'm going to go Minnesota 28-20.
Interesting. I got Minnesota, too, in a close game. I got 27-21. Although I think Jacksonville is going to play a lot better than people think. Colts at Texans.
Colts at Texans. I'm going to go with Indy. Even though they lost me the game last week, I'm still going to go with Indy 28-27.
I got the Texans winning 31-20. And here's the thing, okay? I think the Texans are going to go on a run. They're not going to make the playoffs. But please do not hire Romeo Crennel as your full-time head coach. Don't do it.
No, don't do that.
Because Deshaun Watson's playing out of his mind, but it's not because of Romeo Crennel. But I do think the Texans beat the Colts.
I think he goes. I think if they fire Doug, that's where he goes.
What's it to Houston?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Raiders at Jets.
I'm going with the Vegas Raiders 21-13.
Yeah, I got Vegas winning this too, but I think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be 21-20. Okay. I think this is the game you think the Jets are going to win, and they're going to blow it in the last seconds. Giants at Seahawks.
I'm going Seattle 20-28.
I would have picked the Giants, but Daniel Jones looks like he's not going to win. So I think Seattle wins. I think it's going to be 24-16. Rams at Cardinals. A very important game.
It's going to be a close. Here's the thing: you could go either way. If you're a betting person, because they're only giving the Cardinals are only a -1. So as of right now, I still go to Cardinals in 31-30.
And here's the thing: normally the home team is automatically -3. Home, go to
Right.
away. So you're saying that really you think the Rams should probably win by a field goal. And I think the Rams do win. Just they try to avenge that bad loss against the Niners. I got them winning 34-31. Patriots at Chargers.
I'm gonna go Chargers. My upset special of the week is gonna be my upset special. 23-20.
I got New England winning by the same score. I think it's just, once again,
I gotta figure out a way to catch up to you some kind of way.
it's all good. Anthony Lynn. Every week I talk about Anthony Lynn. People go start thinking I hate Anthony Lynn more than I hate Doug Peterson. Broncos at Chiefs, Sunday night.
Oh, Kansas City, 31-17.
I have Kansas City winning, and I have them winning 31-6. I think this is going to – and Denver has their – Denver is the prime example of if a team is they play really great, but if they're way up there good, nah.
Right.
The Washington football team at the Steelers, Monday or late afternoon.
Yeah, Monday sometime. I'm going Pittsburgh 30-20.
This is my upset special.
Oh, man.
I got Washington getting the Steelers off their Wednesday game. They're still probably going to be dealing with some COVID stuff. And their running back, Gibson, he's really good.
Yeah.
He's really good. If it wasn't for – don't be surprised to see him finish maybe like 4th or 5th in Offensive Rookie of the Year voting. He's not going to win, not by a long shot, but he looks really, really good. So I got Washington winning. And I don't know if I said the score, but I got them winning 20-17.
Okay.
Bills at Niners.
We're going to go Buffalo Bills at the Arizona 49ers. So I'm going Buffalo.
Arizona 49ers.
Yeah, because of that whole thing with Sanford in California. The next 2 or 3 home games are in Arizona.
Right, I forgot about that.
So, yeah, so Buffalo. I'm going Buffalo 28-24.
I got Buffalo winning 28-17. Then we got, Tuesday Night Football with the Cowboys at the Ravens.
I'm going Baltimore 24-20.
Yeah, I think Baltimore, regardless of what happens, I think Baltimore wins, and I got them 27-20. And then we got the Eagles at the Packers.
We both. Man, listen.
The Eagles are going to find a way. What they're going to do is they're going to do some dippity-do dumb stuff where they go for it on 4th down with 8 minutes to go in the 3rd and dumb stuff. And then Carson's going to pull it all together, and it's going to come down to an onside kick that they're not going to get, and they're going to end up losing 27-21.
I got them losing 30-17. We can't – other than 2 games, we've only scored in the 20s 2 games. So, and real quick, so with that, last night, I texted you last night, and now that I went back on it, and I said I understood why you're 3-17, you're trying to get a spark. Carson started to get into a rhythm while you went for it. But to be honest with you, I think that us putting on that 4th and 4 from our own 48-yard line probably should have been the best bet on that. And good hustle play by Dick Rod, but from what I'm reading in the paper, from what I'm reading online and stuff, he cost a lot of people a lot of money, so he may want to go to Witsec.
Well, here's the thing. So, in my personal viewpoint, you punt the way your defense is playing, more than likely you stop them.
Right.
And if you kick a field goal as opposed to go for it when you're in the red zone, as we all know, it changes. One play doesn't define everything, but it does change other stuff. So at that point, what would the score have been? Would it have been 20-12? Something like that?
No. So because if you remember when we gave them that ball, they actually went down and scored a touchdown on that drive. So say if we pin them deep, they don't score, then we kick a field goal because it was 17-9.
So what was it? It was what? It was the score was 14-9, correct?
17-9 at that time.
At 17-9. Okay.
Yeah, so and then that pushed it up. So if they don't score, then we get the possession. Then we went for it again on 4th down. But if we kick a field goal there, then it's 17-12, and then
they start to press a little.
And then they start to press, and even if everything falls out the way it did, that pass to Richard Rodgers is now Wentz has his Aaron Rodgers moment.
Once again, these coaching decisions are not helping, and that's what it is, man. I don't have confidence. At the beginning of the year, if I would have told you Matt Patricia, Bill O'Brien, we're both going to be fired. There's another, the coach for the Falcons, he was going to be fired. That Doug Peterson was going to be on the hot seat, and yet somehow Adam Gase might still be coaching the Jets next year. You think I was nuts?
I think Adam Gase is out the door too.
Oh yeah.
I also think Matt Nagy is going to in Chicago.
Really?
That's another place. If they have Nick next year, don't be surprised to see Doug in Chicago if the Eagles fire him.
I don't know if I'm Chicago and I fire Matt Nagy, I'm not bringing in another Andy disciple. I mean,
I would. And the only reason I'll say that is because for some reason, that type of offense that Doug wants to run fits what Foles does. I don't know.
But I don't think they're going to keep Foles. I think they're going to, to me, here's the thing, man. Mitch wasn't playing that bad. Like, when I say that, he wasn't doing
anything. He was 3-0.
What's that?
He was 2-0, and then he had a bad game. They was getting ready to go 2-1, and then they brought Nick in, and then.
But it's once again, man, it's just to fire Matt Nagy and to bring in Doug Peterson is like to give up bacon for ham, man. It's still pork.
Yeah, you're right.
That to me would be kind of silly, but we'll see. I cannot see if Doug Peterson gets fired, him getting another head coaching job. What I see is Doug Peterson getting fired, and he ends up becoming an offensive coordinator, replacing Eric Bieniemy in Kansas City.
I can see that.
That's what I'd see because Andy would want to help him out.
Yeah. I can see that.
But hey, that is our show. Let's hope we get a chance to see December Doug.
Right.
Anything else you want to add beyond our typical like and subscribe and everybody staying safe and all that?
Oh man, nah. Just like you said, everybody be safe, and hopefully we see Winter Wentz in December Doug.
Hey, if anything, I mean, Sixers preseason games are going to be nationally televised. So
yeah, 3 weeks to the NBA season. Let's go, Doc. Let's see what you can do, baby.
Now, I will say this, Jeffrey, Mr. Lurie, you want to see how a team can turn it around really quickly as far as how the city feels about you? Look at what's happening over at the Wachovia Center.
Right. And real quick, I last week I got on it and said about how when you were saying about how the fans have forced everything, the reason why I don't think – here's the thing. The Eagles are lucky that this is COVID. Because if there was 72,000 fans in that stadium, the way they've been playing, I think Doug would have been fired after last. I think Doug would have been fired today.
Let me ask you this one thing, because it's not a comparison. It's just how I feel.
Okay.
The last time I felt like this about an Eagles team was Andy Reid's last year here, where going into games, you weren't expecting them to win. You were just hoping they put up a good fight. And you feel like the coach is on their last leg. You feel like that you did have something there with quarterback still, although obviously young Nick Foles is different than what Carson's going through now. And Carson, as we know, has more talent than Nick does.
But Nick had more talent around him that last year too.
Right. I mean, if you had to put the feeling of this season to a season you experienced with the Eagles in the past, what would it be? Or is it just like any other?
No. I'm going to say the 98 Eagles. I've had this feeling after last night well, coming into last night, I had this feeling, just come on, let's just get the season over with and let's get a new coach. We have talent on this team.
Yeah.
Let's add to it. Andy's last year and Chip's last year.
Yeah. See, Chip was more tumultuous for me.
Yeah, Chip. I was just like, let's hit the fast forward. Let's
You know
just
what?
get him out of here. Let's
Ray
go.
Rhodes last year actually I think is really good, 98, because
Yeah.
Andy was one of those things. We loved Andy, but you ran your course,
Right.
and it helped out everybody. I mean, we
Yeah.
ended up bringing in a coach after Chip, and all that that got us a championship, or a coaching staff rather.
Yeah, I was gonna say coaching
Yeah.
staff. Yeah,
And Andy did become a better coach and actually went somewhere where they are, being patient with him. And now he has, an amazing team around him.
An old wrestling term, as you call sports entertainment, Jim Ross would say, he went somewhere and learned a new hold.
Yeah. Yeah. that's the way you get fired in wrestling. Go somewhere and learn the people.
Yeah, and then come back, and then you're given the title.
So we're going to try to learn a new hold for next week.
Yeah.
And, because we're getting tired of coming in and going, hey, the Eagles lost. What went wrong? Everything. What went
Everything.
right? Well, the 4 carries.
Alex Singleton.
Sanders got.
Singleton had 6 tackles. There you go. What you gonna do?
All right, until next time, like and subscribe, man, and have a great holiday season. Stay safe.
Peace.